Can you see this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This is important from two aspects. One was instruction came to us from academic section, UG section, that the course plan or the timeline should be clear before the start of this course about the class test and final examinations, everything. So we decided that it is important, and that's what we discussed yesterday. And this is the days that we are planning to get as far as the academic calendar and the holiday list are concerned. So just keep a note of this thing. Maybe this February 16th can be a holiday or it may not be holiday, that we are not sure, but we have not kept that day. If it is not holiday, then we'll add it here. Otherwise, this as the activity I have mentioned here, that there will be one test. It's a kind of short test or quiz you can consider on 15th of February. It will be taken by me, the content that will be covered till 9th. And from 22nd, Dr. Sambabu will continue, and he will also conduct his own class test or quiz on 22nd of March. And finally, we'll have a combined exam. That exam will contain both the questions from me and as well as Dr. Baranasi. So that will be on 6th of April. This already written here. You can have a look at it, and this is the weightage we are planning to give. It's a continuous evaluation, that is we understand, but at least we how much emphasis we are giving on each test and assignments and final exam. So we have also made it clear in the beginning. So there are 10% of this, class record or attendance or class performance. Basically, it can be anything. It is that percentage that has been kept. This is the basically timeline. All are Monday and Tuesday. There is no extra class day because this is a full length semester, so no need of extra class day. But if some classes under certain circumstances, let's say some classes are not being able to taken by both me and him, then we can do some adjustment in Saturday or some other day after mutually discussing with all of you. So this slide is very clear, this timeline and different weightage activity. If you have any comments, queries. Yes, no.
Sir, can you describe about the class record? Like what exactly is meant by that?
It's it can be both attendance, class performance, behavior, everything, like overall class record. That's what I meant. It's not only related to attendance.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So let me skip this part and discuss the content of this course. As I have to start recording maybe. Achha, what is class record? Yeah, I already discussed this. As it is already recorded, that's fine. Now let us go to the today's content discussion. Okay, so now is this lines you can see the is looking small or it's fine?
It's okay.
It's perfectly fine.
Okay, thank you. So yesterday we have left this part, which is just to give you an overall idea about how computerized simulations or computer tools are actually aiding, actually helping us in solving complex problem that we commonly face in chemical engineering or process engineering stream. So you can see that there are earlier days when the computer were not available, and it was those days where digital scope was not there. So people were used to rely on solving the equations by simple by mathematics or the available solutions, the analytical solutions. So there it was like almost two bottleneck was there. First, the analysis part of the problem, that means the problem formulations. So that is one kind of important area where you have to emphasize more. So that is the bottleneck one. That is a kind of challenge. You have to bring out the mathematical equations. You have to formulate the problem in such a way that it represents. So from the definition of the problem, you have to formulate it. So that is a kind of bottleneck you can see. And the second hurdle was the solution of those mathematical model. That means the equations which are generally typically coupled equations, both simultaneous algebraic or nonlinear algebraic and differential equations. So you know this, there is a term called DAE, differential algebraic equations. So which has both combined, which are like there are 5 equations in that particular model. 2 are of nonlinear algebraic and 3 are of differential. So there may be 5 variables or 5 quantity and 5 unknowns. So 5 equations. So like that. So this complex equations and yesterday you have looked at that particular table where you have seen that most of the elements are actually falling into the category of impossible. That means analytically there is hardly you can solve unless it is a simple problem or not much complexity is there. So you have to invariably go for the computer simulations using numerical methods. So that two hurdle that people used to face in earlier days, but after that, when this software or I would say the computing language, the scientific computing language, which can directly take into account, you know, the different routines, the subroutines based on numerical technique and solve. So there are languages, although we are studying, you know, this MATLAB and we'll be mainly using MATLAB and Aspen, but people can solve many of these equations, many of this model problem using Excel itself, Microsoft Excel. So, but we are more trying to, you know, rely on MATLAB because MATLAB has wide applications, wide flexibility. So that is there, and people also have used Fortran. Fortran is a primitive language, basically kind of C you can consider. If C can be like the primitive one or the very first language that computer science people actually learn. Similarly, the other engineering background, which is like mechanical, civil and chemical, electrical, may not be electrical much, but mechanical, civil and chemical, they actually learn Fortran. They write program. Even today, Fortran is also used. I don't know if you have, some of you may be knowing Fortran language, coding and, you know, modeling using Fortran, but people mostly use MATLAB. So this second hardware, which is which earlier days it was there before computer thing is coming. So this now the only hurdle is present in the analysis part, the problem formulation part. So this is the scenario in today, and if you can So that means the major emphasis, major importance has to be given in this area, where if you can come up with a suitable model, then then getting the solutions or quantitative results is not a difficult task. Now there are examples of linear system. This is not difficult. I mean, you can easily follow. So this you see this pressure at the bottom of this vessel containing some liquid is a linear function. Linear function means with respect to variables h. That's the height of this vessel or height of this tank you can consider. And this is the atmospheric pressure, and this is the pressure at the depth h. So if one has to be very careful in the sense that which one is the dependent variable, which one is the independent variable, which are the parameters. So these are very essential elements of any modeling task. So identifying and selecting the particular variables. So this is a linear system example. Now there is a both linear and nonlinear nonlinearity can be there in certain system. Let's say this is an example of a reservoir from where you are actually using pump to send the liquid or send the, let's say, water to two different locations, and at them the exit pressure is P1 and P2, and this is the pump. This QF is the total flow rate or discharge rate, and this is the discharge pressure PF. Now this is logical, right? This relations that we can make from this from this system is there is one summation of total volumetric flow rate. Obviously this comes from the mass balance, and I have not incorporated the density because it's assumed to be constant. So then again, when we'll do the complex modeling problem or other examples, we'll see step by step task. For example, first defining the problem, then writing the assumptions. That is very, very important. If you change your assumptions, then your problem framing or the modeling, the model equations may change. But here there is nothing much in complexity is there. It's a simple system, but having both linear term as well as non-linear term. Now here you can see that the nonlinearity is coming due to this valve, the flow through valve. So this is the typical expression we usually get, and you can you have already seen this type of expression from fluid mechanics. This is coming from the energy balance, or you can say the Bernoulli principles, the extended version of that when across the flow across the valve, if you consider. So linear, so that means that any change in delta P or the pressure, it's not proportional, not linearly proportional. Rather, square root of the pressure is proportional to this flow rate, the discharge rate. So this CV1 and CV2 are typically constant, so that you can identify or you can term them as the parameter of this model, or then these are the variables. So this Q1, Q2 and PF, these typically three are basically unknown, and rest of the quantity are known. So here one thing is very clear, that you have to first identify the unknowns present in the system, and accordingly you have to frame equations so that number of unknowns is equals to the number of dependent equations. Now here one thing is very important, that when you are actually framing this kind of logic, or you are getting as many number of unknowns, as many dependent equations, then you have to be thoroughly check that you don't get any redundant equations, because if you get a redundant equations, then that is coming due to some operations, some algebraic operations, let's say addition of two other equations, or multiplication by some constant and then addition or subtraction. So that equation is no longer, can be considered as a independent equations, because that is related to other equations. So invariably your number of equations is less than the number of unknowns or the number of quantities to be solved. So in that case, your solution is not unique. You have multiple solutions, and that is not that cases is not desirable. We are not looking for that situations. So you have to very careful. You have to very thoroughly understand the problem and identify the number of unknowns or the number of quantities that you have to solve, and then frame the equations so that number of unknowns and number of independent equations, not the redundant, becomes equal. So that's the second step I have actually written here, that this is the three thing or key thing I would say one has to be very one has to consider that number of equations should be equal to the number of unknowns. Any equations can be solved for any unknown provided the other unknowns are supplied from other equations. For example, here this you cannot solve independently the Q2 and PF because these equations has both the unknowns, but other unknowns, let's say Q2 if is coming from this first equation, Q1 is coming from second equation, and then PF can be solved because P1, P2, CV1, CV2, these are actually known, typically known, and also the QF. So that is the reason this second point, that is the meaning of the second point, that other unknowns should be supplied from other equations. And the third is the equations are to be assigned so that you can solve for unknown in such a way that the most significant quantity. So that invariably tells you that here the significant quantity of the unknowns are Q1, Q2 and PF. So we have actually written the equations in that way, but PF and Q1, they are actually coupled, or they are here you can say that these are not explicit, these are implicit relations. So you know the meaning of explicit and implicit relations?
Yes.
Okay, so this is an example of that. So you have to solve simultaneously. So that is the thing. And this typically this is like a thumb rule, or you can say the kind of general principles. And if you follow them, then you should get a stably and convergent model as well as its solutions. So this is that few examples, and many of the other typical examples can be framed. I have not listed the other differential equations examples, which will take up in separate days or separate classes. So today I just wanted to emphasize this modeling principles in this way so that these two examples holds true, and then we'll move to the important part, which is the information flow diagram. If you have noticed in the last class that we discussed about the two major segment, I have marked it like red color and green color in that whiteboard diagram also, and in the discussion we did in that way. That one part is the problem formulations. So you have to define the problem, you have to understand the phenomena or physical laws or governing phenomena that is actually occurring. Accordingly, you have to write the model equations, the relations. It can be algebraic, it can be differential equation, it can be partial differential equation. So depending on the nature of the problem, if it is a unsteady state problem, then it would result to some different kind of equation. If it is a steady state problem, then another kind of mathematical relations would result. So depending on the nature of the problem, so that means this nature of the problem is coming in that second segment, which is the physics of the problem or the problem theory of that problem. So that invariably this all the four blocks in the last day diagram, if you remember, then it actually comes into this form of information flow diagram. So let us see this first example. This is a continuous flow tank, and there is one inlet and one outlet. So the outlet line is connected through valve again, and this F1 and F2 are need not to be constant. They can be time functions. they can be dependent on time, and this height, which is nothing but the difference between this, or rather the variations between F1 and F2 that causes the height of the tank to be changed. So Z is invariably is depending on time, and we can see, or we can monitor the time, we can monitor the height as a function of time. So this is, we can simply write the rate of accumulation is equal to inflow and outflow, and this is a relations that we can write, provided again I have not written the density or rho. So assumed to be constant. So in fact, one should write that. I emphasize that while doing this kind of thing, always better to write the assumptions that are involved in the system, because that plays a very important role. So if you do that, then you result in this kind of relations. So this is a first order ODE. And what is this block diagram? So basically information flow diagram are nothing but connection of the blocks, which actually tells you that if you start from this input, and what is the mathematical relations that is actually there, or describing the problem, describing your system, and what are the output that you are going to solve, what are the quantity that you are going to obtain. So it means that there is a input that is F1 and F2, and this block, which is the model block, or the containing the system equations, and then what is the output that you are actually getting. Now this is a simplified version of what you are actually seeing from the above diagram, is because you have to integrate the height to get the height, that is Z. And this integration, so this black arrow, this triangle, is nothing but a symbol of integration. So whenever you have some system where this integration is involved, you can make it like this, so that you can identify, well, this is a differential equations. Other algebraic relations may not be requiring, or do not require this kind of representation. So it is just to mark that it is an integration, and others are algebraic relations. You don't need to, you don't need that. So this is the representation. So that means one hand, what are the input streams, or what are the input going to the system, which are typically known, or if not, then some other relations from where it is actually being solved. So that forms the left hand side, or that forms the input to the system. Then this is the model equations, or the system equations that you are going to solve, and then output that you are actually looking. Now this is a one equations, I would say, with one unknown. If there are many unknowns, let's say there are 3 unknowns or 2 unknown, and then you can use that one particular unknown to another block, another set of equations, where this Z can be used as an input. So we'll go to the more complex problem just after this, to showcase that there can be simultaneously many blocks, and the arrangement of the block diagram can be more complex. Now, what is the advantage of doing in this way? That it offers many advantages. First is you can visualize the problem. That is the most important thing. Any of these modeling tasks would invariably be complex in nature. There will be many equations, many unknown. But again, if there are 100 equations or more than 100 equations, then it is not advisable, or rather it is not preferred that you form so many 100 blocks. But at least you can represent, so similar kind of equations if appears, then you can directly put them in a single block, because the unknowns are, let's say this is a linear algebraic equations, or simultaneous equations, algebraic equations are appearing, which we'll also see in the next example today. But it is not preferred that you will draw for each block. It is preferred that you identify them and mark them with a single block, so that it depicts one particular type of equations. So then this is the same problem that we are actually having this in the continuous flow tank. We have added one more valve on the left hand side. That means the flow is now that flow that is coming to the tank is influenced by this valve, or is flow through this valve is occurring, and the flow through this and the flow that is leaving the tank is also controlled by this valve. What is happening? It's a fixed height, or rather not height. It's a fixed tank. The top surface is the outside surface. Outside pressure is atmospheric pressure, which is P0, and this is the tank height. So now you can see that this tank height, which is which comes as a variation of F1 and F2. So due to the variation of this flow, this height of this tank actually changes. Now you identify that there are actually seven quantities, right? P1, which is the input pressure or inlet pressure. F1 is the flow rate. P3 is the exit pressure. F2 is the exit flow rate. P0 is the atmospheric pressure, or the pressure outside the tank. This is the pressure at the depth, and J. So there are seven unknowns. Now, how many unknowns? There are seven unknowns. There are seven variables, rather not unknowns. There are seven variables. Now one has to identify the dependent and independent variables. Now this is a problem which relates to the time variations. That means we are interested to see the variation of this height with respect to time, right? So this F1, F2, Z, and since P2 is as you can see here from our understanding, that P2 is nothing but related to Z at any point of time. So these four variables, we can put them in the dependent variable list, right? F1, F2, Z, and P2. Whereas this is inlet pressure and this exit pressure are typically known, and atmospheric pressure is known. So this is like independent variable. These are constant, you can say. So since there are four unknowns, so it is giving an indication that you have to frame four model equations, which are non-redundant and independent, so that you can solve them. You can solve them and get a stable value, or get a convergent value. So here we'll have another set of model diagram, but the other the one important aspect that I was making in the last lecture is the cause and effect relations, or natural ordering. Now, this diagram that I have made here, this as a information flow diagram. So let us try to understand what is happening. So, as you see that there are four unknowns, right? P1, F1, F2, Z, and P2. So one thing must be, one thing is very clear, that as many unknowns as many equations. Now each equations are represented in this form of block, connecting the input variables and the output. Now there are actually three different model configurations can be possible, right? We will discuss each one of them, and we'll try to identify why the other two are not following the natural cause and effect relationship, or why the other two are not falling under the natural flow or natural ordering, natural sequence. So first let us see the first one. Although I have written natural ordering, but we'll try to understand why why is it so. Okay. All right. So you see this P1 and P3. right? P1 and P3 are your independent variable and input to the system you can consider. So due to the pressure difference in the input line, the flow actually occurs, that F1 into the tank, and this flow that is actually leaving the tank, that is F2, that is also related to this equations, the valve equations, which are nonlinear, we have seen earlier. So this here you see this P2 that is actually unknown, but it is it can be solved from some other equations and can be taken as an input to this particular block. So from here, what we are actually solving? We are actually solving F1. But what are the input to the system? Input are actually P1 and P2. CV1 is the valve coefficient, which is constant. Now one can argue that P2 is not directly known, but well, that the modeling principles or the other modeling principles, we have seen that any equations can be solved for any unknown, provided the other unknowns can be obtained from some other equations. So from other equations, we can see that P2 is actually obtained, right? P2 can be obtained from these relations, and it can be fed directly as an input to this block. So F1 and F2 we are solving through these nonlinear algebraic equations. And as we have seen that the problem nature or the physics of this problem says that the variations of F1 and F2, the difference between inlet and outlet flow rate, is related to the variation in the tank height or height of the vessels. So this is a differential equations we have seen, and F1 and F2 are input. A is the tank area, which is again you can write in the form of assumptions that it is typically constant, and rho basically density and area of this vessel. So this F1 and F2 act as an input. Due to the variation of F1 and F2, we are getting Z as an integration. So that's why this symbol is there. And then we are actually using another relations. So these relations are linear in nature, and this is a linear algebraic relations, where Z act as an input, P0 is known, and P2 you can solve. This P2 is again used by some other block. So you can directly follow the sequence. You can follow the what should I say? You can follow the natural flow that is actually the relating the problem from definition, a problem from starting to end, but we are actually getting. So we are solving for unknowns simultaneously, but it gives a balance between what we are actually seeing as a difference between F1 and F2. We are getting Z, and this Z is actually used in these relations.
Hello.
Ha.
Sir, from the first block, how do you get the value of F1 and F2 if you don't know P2?
Yes, that's what I said. P2 you will not get directly from this. So you see this P2 and P1. P2 is actually obtained from this fourth block, right? So as I said that this is a not implicit. These are not explicit relations. These are all implicit relations. These four model equations or four equations that you can see here, it is not explicit in nature. These are all implicit. So if you just go through this modeling principles, the second point, that any equations can be solved for an unknown if all other unknowns are supplied from other equations. So you see that these other equations, that means this particular block which relates the P2 and Z, this gives us the value of P2. So one hand it is the input, other hand it is the output. Now this output can act as an input to this system, and you will get the F1. So this is I would say that invariably you will frame equations, you will feed it in MATLAB, or you will solve it directly. But arranging these equations in this form actually helps you to understand the physics of the problem more in a detailed way. What is actually happening, or the process that is actually occurring? What is its natural flow? And one would expect that one would integrate to get the value of Z, right? there are several integrations routine available, so that is not a difficult task, right? Is it clear? Okay, let us see the other configurations that is actually possible and why we are not preferring them, although they are mathematically possible to solve, but we are not preferring them, and we are calling them as unnatural ordering, or not following the natural cause and effect relations. Just try to see this model 2. That is another configurations for based on information flow diagram. Now we can arrange them in this sequence also, right? So what are essentially there? There are two valve equations which are related to flow rate, F1 and F2. One is P2, which is the pressure at the bottom of the tank, and other is the height variations, or the height of the vessels, as a difference of F1 and F2. Now, do you see any of the natural sequences there in this particular arrangement? It is mathematically possible. I would say that you can solve the 4 equations, but the way it is represented, it is violating, or rather it is not causing the natural flow. Why? You see here that in one hand you are giving an input to this particular equations to get the F1, but instead of solving the Z through integrations, you are actually supplying the Z and you are trying to take the differentiation to get the unknown F2, which you are using in this particular valve equations to get P2, and then you are actually getting this P1. Sorry, F. Then you are using this P2 in other 2 equations or other 2 block. This P2 we have also seen in earlier sequence that it is act as an input to the valve equations, but instead of here solving this F1 and F2 before we go to this particular block, the integration block, first we are trying to give the value of Z, or we are trying to get the calculate Z. Then instead of integration, we are actually solving it by taking differentiation and then solving this equations to get the unknown F2. So invariably it have some difficulty in grasping the concept, in the sense that as we have made the logic that the variation of F1 and F2 is giving us the Z, but here we are not able to visualize in that way, right? We are solving partially, rather we are visualizing partially, that we are just getting F1, and using F1 we are trying to predict, or we are trying to calculate F2, so that the Z remains the difference between F1 and F2. So instead of unknown, or instead of output from this block, the height variations block, Z act as an input. So it's a kind of unnatural sequence. It's not a natural sequence. Do you agree with me?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. See this this block we can change now. If F2 and F1, we can just replace this F1 block here, and we can bring F2 to create another model sequence. And that is just we have done here, that instead of F1 earlier, which was known, and F2 was calculated from this block, we have just replaced this. But again, this is that same difficulty, or unnatural ordering or unnatural sequence. In fact, this actually helps him to understand that why natural ordering is preferred. See, there are different integration techniques that are actually available. So we always prefer that we can solve for some unknown through some integration routine, integration integration rule. But numerical differentiation is always difficult, rather numerical integrations. So that's why this unnatural ordering is one. And another way that it is, if you create your IFD, information flow diagram, through this model sequence, then it gives you the proper flow to understand the problem and to get a solutions which are more stable. Because today, if you, instead of integration, if you do it by differentiation, then it is it is I would say cumbersome or difficult. It's not an easy thing. Uh, that's why this natural ordering is always preferred than this other arrangement. These are possible in reality, in principle, but actually for solving, or actually for implementation part, it will fall into trouble, because we always prefer numerical integration over numerical differentiation. And secondly, this doesn't give us understanding of the process in a better way. That's why this three different sequences has been shown, and why we prefer the natural ordering has been justified. Now, this is the one example. There can be many examples. Let's say this particular example problem, we can modify a little bit. So you can pay attention here to the fact that today this P0 is an external pressure, right? Or the atmospheric pressure. Now we can extend this particular vessel to make it a solid line, or to make it fixed. We can have this kind of fixed slab, or a fixed vessel, fixed tank. So then P0 will not be no more external to the surface, it will be internal. So some kind of vapor or gas, you can say that it will be occupied in this section, and it would be another variable, it would be another unknown to the system, another quantity to be solved. And typical gas law, maybe ideal gas law, you can assume that would be added to this particular system. So another block, another unknown. So we can extend the system and we can make more complicated system. So there will be some assignments based on this and other examples to create information flow diagram, to make information flow diagram, and preferably the natural ordering sequences. So that is one type of assignments I am planning to give after today's class. So this example has been taken from this Roger Frank's book, and mostly I am following that particular book. So some more examples can be in this way, that chemically reacting vessels. So both reactions and continuous flow process are occurring. So simultaneous reactions are actually occurring and happen. So in that way, you can think of another examples. So those are different examples, and in the same way you can create information flow diagram and the natural ordering sequences. So this a slight variation to this this thing is adding the another step to this particular problem. So this you can think of creating that. You can think of, or you can later you can do it. I'll see that if it is can be given as an assignment. So I just added this slight variations to this existing system. So in this way, you can think of many different type of problem to get an understanding of construction of IFD. Okay, so now before we move to the next part of this lecture, which is the what is called application of one numerical, not numerical, I would say the linear algebraic equations. So have you how many of you or rather you are familiar with MATLAB, right? Most of you. Or have you installed it earlier? Have you used MATLAB?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Oh. So this numerical methods, the course numerical method was taught to you in previous other semester.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Achha. Reaction engineering was also covered.
Yes, sir.
Achha. So that means the 5 major area that I was referring to last day: fluid flow, heat transfer, mass transfer, reaction engineering, and process dynamics and control. All these 5 subjects were covered earlier.
Yes, sir.
Oh, very good. Very good. So then you can think of problems combining 2-3 operations or 2-3 areas, and you should be able to create this kind of information flow diagram. So I can think of giving that particular problem to which combines many of these relations, and you should be able to so that would give you some practice. You would understand more. Uh, this now we are moving to the next part, which is the examples that we are giving is a mixing tank problem, and the application of basically Gauss elimination by where the simultaneous linear algebraic equations will be appearing. So this mixing tank problem, typically we have that several interconnected tanks in series parallel formation, and since it's a mixing tank, so any of the output from one reactor or one tank can be fed to other reactor or other tank. So let's say this particular arrangement is possible, right? This particular arrangement is given. So different streams leaving one particular tank is feeding to another tank, and that's how this is a that's how this system is there. So before we actually solve it, see any of this modeling problem or this problem formulations, we can directly write relations, mathematical relations, and we can directly solve them for unknowns. But two major importance I would try to emphasize here. One is the just for the sake of results, we should not solve it. We should not, or just for the sake of modeling, we should not do it. We should be thoroughly understanding why we are actually doing it, and the results that we have obtained, or the numbers or the quantity or the data that you have got from the from the computations. Are they making sense? That is number one. Are they realistic value or for the desired value? Secondly, what other inferences you can draw from the results? Apart from just the numbers, what physics it is adding into the problem, or what what concept, what extra concept, extra informations that it is giving, or it is related to that particular system. So are you being able to extract more informations from the data? So that is the question. So we should always be thinking in this way, that any modeling problem or any modeling task, there is a pre-processing, or rather pre, and there is post. So these two thing is very, very important. So this particular example looks very trivial and simple, but I have tried to justify these two facts, that before you actually write the equations or model equations, you should always give emphasis to the basically extracting more informations or extracting more concept from that particular problem. So this examples would ultimately results to this kind of simultaneous equations, which are actually in this form ax equals to b. You have all familiar with this kind of equations, but what do they mean? What do they mean by this a and x and b, right? So what is happening here? You can see that this you can directly write the mass balance across each tank. So there are 5 tanks, so there are 5 mass balance equations you can write. Q are the flow rate and C is the concentration. So you can create 5 variables, 5 unknowns, and then we can arrange them in this form of Ax equals to B. Now, what is the importance of arranging them in this way, and what do they mean? This A matrix, this X column vector, or the response vector, or the state vector, you can say, and this is the B vector, the coefficients or constant. So any of this, so this for Ax equals to B, the implications or the meaning is not restricted to this particular problem. It is applicable to all type of other type of problem where you will ultimately results into this kind of Ax equals to B. So you see this when you actually write the balance equations, you will get this 5 unknowns which are which may be coupled to but one particular equations may contain 2-3 unknowns. So this X vector which contains the concentrations of leaving the each tank. So these all mixing tank are start tank type, continuous start tank type. So there is a enough mixing is happening, and so concentration inside the tank is same as the concentration leaving the tank, and we are interested to get that value, to get that unknown. So C1, C2, C3, C4, 5, C5, these are actually the response of the system or the behavior of the system. So that is the meaning of this X column vector. What is the meaning of the B vector? B vector, you will actually when you will make the balance equations, you will find that there are some constant or some, because this Q naught 1 and C naught 1, which is the concentration or the input stream along with a particular flow rate and its concentration, it's entering the tank. So when you will make a balance around this C1, you will see that some constant is already appearing. Similarly, this C3, there's some constant is already appearing. For some other tank, there may not be some constant, which will be
Sir, sir, why B is independent of behavior of system?
Yes, I'll come to that. I'll come to that. It means that what is B basically is a constant matrix or coefficient matrix. Now, independent of behavior of the system, it means anyways, this C1, C2, C3, C4, C5 tanks are actually will give you the outlet concentrations or the concentration that is actually leaving the tank and inside the tank. So it is independent means today I can change another stream, or we can let's say we do not have this particular stream available, Q naught 1 and C naught 1, but some other tank have that kind of input. Let's say this, instead of 5 and 10, this particular stream going to the C1, it can go to the C5, right? So that actually then affects that will affect, but that is not changing the response. That will change the response definitely, but the way the mixing tanks are represented, or the behavior, that means the outlet concentrations, that will be always that will be already there, right? That means that if you change this particular stream to some other locations, it would change the value of the C5, but it would not change the configuration. It would not change the arrangement. That means there will be some response that C5 will be there, that some response will be different, but the pattern or the way the variables are arranged, that will not be changed. So basically, instead of rather more better understanding is basically it's acting as an external force. It's a kind of stimuli that drives the system. That means that it causes the changes. It causes the changes in the concentration of the tank in that particular tank. Does it make sense?
Yes, sir.
Or you want to add anything?
Sir, can you please explain the three parts again, A, X, and B?
AX and B, right? A I have not covered yet. A I'll actually cover. First, I'll cover the explanation of A, then I'll again try to explain the AX equals to B. See, this we are still in this B vector or B column. B column vector. Yeah, B column vector. And what is A? Because when you write the mass balance equations, you will see we have solved this problem. But before we go to that part, let us try to understand this. See this interconnections. That means the different flow rate that is actually leaving and going to some other tank. This particular interconnections are actually the elements of this A matrix. That means A is basically the interaction matrix. Interaction among several tanks. The whole system is consisting of 5 tanks. It can be of more than 5. So depending on the connections, depending on the interconnections across each tank, this A matrix will change. The elements will change, but the nature will remain the same. So similar to that, this B, that is kind of the logic that is I'm trying to put is that today the numbers can be changed. The elements of B column vector may be changed because today this C1 and C3 are getting that particular input. And because of that, the concentrations are distributed. Concentration are distributed through these interconnections because the different flow rate and something. So today, if instead of the input to the C1, if the input is given to the C5, let's say, then the elements of that column vector will change. It will give some, it will be different numbers. Accordingly, the X will change. But the behavior, which is largely dependent on the way the tanks are interconnected. I'm trying to make that justifications that the way the tanks are interconnected, we are not changing. We are just trying to change the input stream or the driving stream or the stimuli that we are calling them as stimuli. That would change the variables, that would change the unknowns, but it would not change the behavior of the system. That means that the way the tanks are interconnected to each other, we are not changing that. We are not disturbing that. So the system, the whole system will behave in the same way. That means the interconnections are still alive. The mixing is happening in the same way. So it will expect that concentrations to be distributed. The values will be coming in a different set of values, but the behavior, that means the connections, the way it is made, you will all the time you will get some numbers, some concentration values, provided the fact that at which particular tank you are trying to give the input. Now A matrix is that's why they said that A is a matrix of coefficients containing parameters that represents the interconnections. So let us try to see the equations and try to solve it using MATLAB. So we can see the A matrix, and we can later part will post process the result. That means the after obtaining the values of X vector, that means the concentration of each tank, we can understand the importance of the inverse matrix. That is another part. So first we have seen that what is the implication of AX equals to B. That means the interaction matrix, then the response, and then the stimuli or the external force that drives the system. Okay, now I would solve this using MATLAB. I will show this. So I'll come to this last slide or last page of this document, that the implications of the results. Okay, so this I'll explain after I show the this thing in MATLAB. So let me try to share the MATLAB screen and see if you can look that. So since you are familiar, so there is no this window or this interface is not nothing new to you. So we can solve it in the command window directly. We can also write the script file or MATLAB M file, and we can directly execute the program through this run. Now, the way it is, you have to give the this inputs, right? You have to give the this coefficients. Now, this mass, can you do the mass balance? I think that part I have actually asked and I thought to give it to you. So just try to do the mass balance quickly across each tank and generate the 5 equations, so that we can then later on match to these coefficients that I have put here. So just make it in the form of 5 equations, and then each equations, the coefficients are basically the input matrix or input to that coefficient matrix. Unknowns will be like the column vector, and some constant so basically ax plus by plus cz equals to d, or ax plus by equals to c in this form. So keep the constant on the right side to form the 5 elements of the 5 stimuli vector, p vector, and unknowns are x, which are the concentrations c1 to c5, and a is the coefficient matrix. So do the mass balance and generate the 5 equations, so that we can match them in this MATLAB, the coefficients.
So can you show that diagram again?
Right. Yes. I have not put the unit, but you can assume some SI unit. Is the volumetric flow rate and concentrations. So If you are done, then you can respond so that we can match the coefficient matrix, A matrix, A as well as B. Any response, or if you are still doing? Have you finished the balances, 5 balance equations?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so please call out Who is this? May I know the name?
Sir, sir, it's me, Anshuman.
Anshuman, yeah. Anshuman, thanks. I'm just displaying this MATLAB screen, and you call out or you match if the numbers are matching, and in fact others can also see the same way. So you it's a 5 by 5 matrix. I would say that interaction matrix is a 5 cross 5. Many of the elements will be 0, and some of the elements will be some non-zero numbers. So see if the numbers you see from this M file is that whether you are getting these numbers. Those who are also doing are about to finish. For them also it is the numbers are displayed. So if I just increase the zoom, can I increase the font size of this MATLAB numbers?
No, sir, it's okay.
It's okay. So just match if you are getting the same numbers.
Sir, can you go back to that diagram just once? I think I've missed something in tank 2.
Okay.
Just once, sorry, sir.
No problem, no problem.
Sir, our results are different because of tank 2. So I
Okay.
think.
Okay, you just understand the approach or logic. Later on, you first draw the diagram. In fact, this document will be sent, so you can later on match. Yeah. So let us move ahead. So balance equations, if you do it properly, you will get this kind of coefficients. So we have created the 5. The others are already zeros, so there is no need to mention them. So that's why these zeros, this command is useful. And this b vector, which has only 2 elements of non-zero, others are 0. And then you can directly get this backslash. This backslash actually gives you the it's a modified Gauss elimination. I'm not going to the details. Those who are interested, you can just read from this help. Suppose you write, I don't know, maybe help.
Sir, a few of the coefficients are not matching.
Not matching, but you try to see the balances. I mean, I would imagine that there must be some miscalculations or some numbers, because these numbers that I have pasted here are from our example. So these coefficients values are correct. So check once again your balance solution, not now, but later.
So I think either there's a mistake in the diagram or you have got the coefficients a little wrong. For tank 2, it is 3 inputs and 2 outputs, but you have got a 3 in the coefficients.
Sir, the equation for tank 2 was coming out to be 3C1 is equal to 2C2.
Yeah.
So another 3 should not be there. It should be 2.
Yeah.
Tank 2, that means Q12 equals to 3, Q25 equals to 1, Q24 equals to 1. So here you are saying that okay.
In the diagram,
2 should be 2.
Just
should be one more link.
Okay, I see. Just give me 1 minute. I'm just searching the document. I should have written the balance equations here also, but anyways. See, let me see. Just,
So also for a tank 3, actually, the input is there is only one input. So A32 should not be there. It should only be A33.
I think the diagram just needs one more link between tank 2 and tank 3, showing that one part of tank 2 is going to tank 3.
Yes, I guess that is specific.
Okay, just I'm also confused a little bit. I mean, give me 1 minute, huh? Let me see what you are saying. I think it's fine. Okay. Oh, yes, there is wrong. Correct. I missed this tank 2 to tank 3 connection. Yeah. Okay, there is one corrections here. It's my fault. This tank 2 to tank 3, there is one interconnection was also there, right? Q23. So just mark it Q23 equals to 1. Rest are fine. If you mark this, because this link is also missing, I mean, this connection is not there. Tank 2 to tank 3. So the direction is from tank 2 to tank 3.
So can you edit this in PDF, please?
Yeah, I'll add that. But right now, how to do it? Comment. I am just, let me show the PDF. So I'm just writing here. Oh. Okay. This PDF now is not. Just give me 1 minute. Huh? I'm just indicating this Q23 so that you can solve or you can make the balance again. See, I have just added this number Q23. Okay, the direction is from tank 2 to tank 3. So if your balance, if it might take some more time. Would you be able to do it again? The coefficient matrix would again change. Okay, this you can do it. I mean, later part. But if you add this, is that fine if you do it later? I think we discuss.
So I've done it. It's correct. Your equations are correct. Then your coefficients are correct.
Just if you add this Q23 now after that.
Yeah, yes, sir. I did it.
Oh, thank you. So this Q23 is 1, and then if you match these coefficients, this MATLAB, let me open the MATLAB. Then these coefficients are correct. So you will actually then get the concentration in each tank by this backslash A backslash B. So it is basically the response or the unknowns, 5 unknowns. So, and I have also written the inverse matrix. So because the results ultimately is depending or what are the implications or extra informations that I was saying now, this post processing of the results. So what does it mean, the inverse matrix element? So we have understood on one hand the elements of a matrix, interaction matrix. But the inverse matrix, although we are not seeing the inverse matrix, but we can actually calculate from the MATLAB very easily just by typing INV, which is the inverse of this matrix A. So what are the meaning of each of these elements of this inverse matrix that we'll see. So either you can write this M file, or you can directly write the lines in command window, and you can directly get the number. So if you do it like this, you will get this concentrations according to these numbers. And this is the inverse matrix, right? Just typing INVA. Now keep this numbers or rather some you just take a shorthand note or something that there are some zeros. There are some zeros in fourth column, and there are 3 zeros and in fifth column, right? First, second, third, fourth, fifth. Yeah, fourth and fifth column contains some of the zeros. So what does it mean? So what is actually happening if you just think in grossly that you are actually solving for this x, ax equals to b. So in a way we can think of that x is what? A inverse into b. Although we do not calculate the inverse matrix because of some which is not advantageous, or which is calculation of inverse matrix is difficult. So we always go for Gauss eliminations, and if the equations are large number of equations, then calculation of inverse matrix is very time consuming, and number of arithmetic operations or multiplication and divisions are more. So we avoid that calculation of inverse matrix. But in principle, or in logically, what is happening, or that is basically you are multiplying the inverse matrix elements into the stimuli vector. That means inverse A inverse into B. So each of these elements are multiplied according to the matrix multiplications. So there are some importance of this inverse matrix. That's why we have also calculated, or we have also seen the nature of this inverse matrix. And surprisingly, we are seeing some of the zeros in the fourth and fifth column. So what is the meaning of this? So let us try to understand that. So coming to this part, see this B vector, which is a stimuli vector, we have seen that it is a external force kind of thing. It drives the system. If you change them, it will give some different number. So that means each element of the inverse matrix is multiplied with some number, which is coming from the B vector. That means each element is a some kind of unit, or you can say that per unit change multiplied by some multiplied by the elements of that stimuli vector or the column vector. So what is that per unit change, or what is it? So in the process problem, or the problem statement, or the problem that is given, it is broadly what is telling you that one tank is stream is fed back, or is again connected to some other tank. So that's the mixing is happening, and proper distribution of the concentration. So each of this tank has his own output. Let's say this, go back to this, as I said, that this is the fourth column and fifth column, there are some zeros, right? So let us try to figure out what is happening in the fourth tank. So each column represents basically each tank that you can understand, you can visualize. So this fourth tank, which has its only one output, that is actually living, but it is not further going to any of this tank. It is not again going back to 1, 2, 5 or 3.
No, sir, are you presenting something?
Yes. This PDF.
No, sir, we can't. No, sir, I'm unable to see.
Unable to see. Okay. Others?
Sir, it's visible.
It's visible to me as well.
That's right. Huh? Okay. Just check once. I am actually sharing the screen. So this tank 5 or the column 5, you have seen 3 rows, 3 zeros. If you go just quickly go back to this MATLAB inverse matrix thing, then let us see that which are the 3 zeros. 1, 2, 3. So first three are 0, 4 and 5 are fifth are non-zero, right? So coming to this part, see this tank 5, which has its own output living, and one output, or rather the same stream, the concentration of this 5,4 and 5,5 are being the same. So this C5, the one of this thing is again going to the C4, right? But none of this C5, which is going to C4, and C4 there is no connection to 1, 2, 3. That means 5 is not connected to 1, 2, 3. Or in the way that it is, I am saying that connected means the output of tank 5 is not going to tank 1, tank 2, tank 3. First, I explained that output of the tank 4 is not at all connected to 1, 2, 3, 5. And that's why there are 4 zeros. I'll finally explain the meaning, but I'm just trying to see the numbers, and according to I'm trying to explain from the diagram. Then you come to the tank 5 or the column 5, you have seen 3 zeros. The tank 5 is actually output is going to tank 4. There is no directly tank 5 is not giving any of the stream that is going to tank 2, tank 3 or tank 1, but since it is going to 4, even 4 is not giving, or 4 is not kind of living, or 4 is not kind of generating that any of the stream that is actually going to 1, 2, 3. So in a way that 5, which is somehow giving some output to the tank 4, but it is no longer being used again to tank 1, 2, 3, because C4 is not at all connected to 1, 2, 3, 5. So we can see that the non-existence, or we can see that the tank output that is not going to some other tank, and there are some zeros. So what does it mean? So here is the meaning lies that change in particular tank. So let me go read the line. I think that is the change in concentration in ith tank due to a unit change in tank J. So let us figure out what are the zeros here. The zeros are basically tank 4. That means first, second, third, and fifth. So that means elements are 1, 4, 2, 4, 3, 4, and 5, 4. So these 4 elements are 0. So J is basically the 4 common through all of this, which is tank 4. And 1, 2, 3, and 5. These are ith, I representing ith element, or rather I line, the row line. So that means there is no change in concentration of tank 1, 2, 3, and 5 due to a unit change in loading to tank J. That means there is no change is actually happening. That means there is no actually connection. There is no actually line or stream that is leaving the tank 4. That means tank 4 is trying to give some perturbation, or not perturbation. I would say that tank 4 is not giving any of the stream which can drive something, or which can act as a unit stimulus. Because why I'm saying unit stimulus? Because again you are multiplying by that the column vector or the B vector, which is the, that's why this per unit change very initially I told. So it is basically the inverse matrix elements represents the kind of cause and effect relations. Again, this any of this tank output that is non-zero. So non-zero means what? I have also written that non-zero means that unit change in loading 1, 2, 3 reactor will affect all other tanks. So what does it mean? So all other tanks, that means let's say first reactor. So again go back to the non-zero rows or non-zero elements in the inverse matrix. So you see the non-zero elements are in tank 1, tank 2, tank 3. Now just concentrate on tank 1, 2, 3 you will understand. So in the tank 1, you see that all the inverse matrix elements are non-zero. That means output from the tank 1 is affecting all other tanks. And let us go to the diagram to see if the connections are making sense, or if the diagram or if the problem statement is telling the same logic. So output of the tank, that means a loading change in tank 1, that means the stream that is actually giving or liberating or coming from this tank 1 is affecting all other tanks. So directly we can see that C5, directly we can see C2. Now this C2 and C3 there is connected, right? I missed this connection. So in a way that C1 is affecting C3, and since C1 is directly connecting C2 or giving this outlet stream, and C2 is again giving to C4. So C1 is connected to C4. So any change in tank 1 is affecting all other tanks. That's why you are seeing this all the numbers are non-zero. Again you check for C2, because the first, second and third column are non-zero. So C2 the outlet is affecting 5, affecting 3, affecting 4, and 3 is affecting 1. So C2 is affecting rest of the tank. Similarly C3, you can also do the same logic. So that is the implications of each of these, inverse matrix as well as the coefficient matrix, that AX equals to B formation. So the main idea of putting these examples is that whenever you solve such kind of equations through with the help of MATLAB and do computations, always try to bring out as much information as possible. That would not only help you to understand the problem, but also the inherent, inherent meaning or inherent insights. If you can obtain, a thorough understanding is possible. That is the bottom line that one should always make. Now here it has been possible due to this AX equals to B formation, but you will see many of these equations that will actually solve in chemical engineering domain. You will see that this expression actually results in many of these occasions. Suppose there is a steady state absorption column, end plate absorption column. You will see this kind of AX equals to B. Again, if you go back to extraction column, 2-3 stages, let's say 3-stage extraction or 4-stage extraction, you will again see this kind of AX equals to B applications. So this, if you analyze the problem or if you visualize the problem in this way, then your understanding will become very clear, right? So what I have thought that I will give one assignment from either extraction or absorption column, which will apply this principle AX equals to B, and this detailed analysis should be made. If non-zero rows are coming, or if zero, then what is the meaning? So I will create the assignment sometime this week. I'll post that assignment, and there will be some deadline. So you have to solve that part, solve that question, as well as there will be one more questions which is related to information flow diagram. So these two things that we have learned in today's class will be posted, or rather will be given as a part of exercise as well as assignment, so that you can solve them and you can get a more understanding on this particular topic that we have covered. So what we have learned is from last 2 classes is we have seen the scope of this subject. We have seen the how to build information flow diagram, what is the meaning of it, how to get a natural ordering, or what is the essence of making this natural ordering or natural sequences of information flow diagram, what is the advantages. And secondly, we have seen one applications from this mixing tank problem, which takes into account this solution of simultaneous linear algebraic equations. We'll go step by step. All these kind of tasks we can do it in MATLAB. So we'll go step by step and manner to solve the problem as well as show the MATLAB examples. And later on, we will give the assignments in such a way that you can practice it. You can do the MATLAB on your own, and because this course will heavily deal with problem formulations and solutions using MATLAB. So I think this is all fine for today's class. These 2 assignments, 2 questions I'll put in the form of assignment 1, and there will be deadline. So you have to submit that before the deadline is over. One thing I have to look, as you suggested, that this link is not accessible to you. So I have to look that how to get it done. Last time I remember it was possible, it went successfully, but anyways, I'll look it. If not, then the file section, I'll upload all the informations. So there will be day-wise folder, okay? Maybe I will rename the folder as particular class days. So that would be good.
Sir.
Huh.
So can you share the MATLAB file as well?
MATLAB file, yes. MATLAB this numbers, na? ठीक है.
Yes,
this
sir. So .m file.
.m file. Okay, no problem. .m file. So which versions are you using, all of you, this MATLAB? Have you installed it?
Sir, to 2020.
Oh, latest version. Take. That's fine. So all of you are using this IIT KGP, this link, portal or license software. Okay, all right. So that's all for today's class. It's a 2-hour class, but typically I complete it some 10-15 minutes before. So that's all. I think this is fine, right?
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. So we'll again meet next Monday, and we'll see some examples from nonlinear algebraic equations. So gradually we'll go like this, as we have mentioned in the handouts, that kind of different examples from chemical engineering domain. Next week I'm planning to give examples from equation of state and what is this vapor liquid equilibrium. So one by one we'll proceed. Okay, all right. Thank you so much. Thank you for your attention. We end the class. We conclude the class here.